What's going on, Stage Family? Today we're going to talk about how to firm up after 40. For those who don't know, my name is Caden Hayward. I'm CEO and founder of Coach Hayward. We specialize specifically in busy professionals who want to life-proof their routine, which means losing fat for the last time. So if you want to tone up, lose fat, and do it in a way that fits your lifestyle so you can sustain it, that's what we do. For those who don't know, about 95% of our clients is typically woman 40 plus. So this is exactly what I'm going to cover here today on how do you can firm up after 40, step by step on exactly how to do this. No BS, step by step. All right, so let's dive in. So if you get some value to this, if this does help you, make sure you like and subscribe so that way more people can see this and have access to this, and grab a pen and paper and take some notes and let's dive in. So going from A to Z on how to melt, on how to do this. So number one is that when it comes to trying to firm up your body, right? So you want, when we say firm, I guess first of all, we should get clear on what that means, right? So if we want to firm up our body, that means that we don't want like that excess body fat that's in the way of our muscles. We want that lean tone look. And then if we were to touch our skin, we want that defined, that solid muscle feeling, right? Not crazy solid like a bodybuilder's massive biceps, but you know what I mean? That firm tone look and that feeling as well. Okay. So how we're going to do this here to get that shape, to get that body is, first of all, there's two types of fat, by the way. So there's the visceral fat. That's the fat that kills you. That's around your organs. Then there's the subcutaneous fat. Okay. So the subcutaneous fat is the fat that we want to melt off. So that way we can see our muscles more. So that's like our body fat that kind of hides our muscles. Okay. So your muscles are there, right? Like all of us, in a way, we all have abs, but it's just body fat that's covering those abs, right? Or like your genetics, the way your body kind of composure looks. So the first step here when it comes to firming up our body is that we got to make sure that we can lose the actual weight itself, right? So we need to be losing the weight. We need to get the body fat off our body so that way we can bring out our muscles so it shows more. The next thing though is that we need to make sure that we're preserving our muscles. This is where a lot of people go wrong, is that they do fad diets, they do these crash diets, the shakes, the pills, they starve themselves to lose weight. And this is very terrible, especially after the age of 40, because this is going to cause you to have deficiencies. It could lead to a terrible route down the road in the future for you. So it's not good at all to do these crash diets and these restricted diets. It's also going to ruin your relationship with your food. And 99% of the time, it's just never sustainable long term. Right. But the problem is that a lot of people that's what they do, is that they'll drastically cut back on their calories. They'll starve themselves on these plans and they lose a ton of weight, but they're also eating up their muscle mass. So when they're done, they have this skinny fat look. Maybe they have like a little what they call sag, I guess, when they're skin, and they don't have that firm tone, lean look. Okay, so this is why it's important that we preserve your muscle and as much as possible. And then the last part is just maintenance, right? Like how do we actually maintain this look and feel? So that's what we'll cover here today. So first and foremost, again, so here's a little graph. So again, your visceral fat is like right around here, right? It's in the organs. I meant to put that in the middle, but oh well. It's like if you touch in your stomach and you have a hard piece like underneath, like that's very, very dangerous. That's the visceral fat. That's what we want to get off there. And then again, subcutaneous fat is like the fat that's like, if you look at your arms and you have like, the fat around your tricep area, that would be like your subcutaneous fat there. Okay. Why do you feel less firm after 40? Why is that happening? The easiest way I can explain this to you is that if we don't use it, we lose it, right? If we don't use it, we lose it. And in fact, our body starts going downhill around our later 20s and our 30s, not at our 40s, okay? It speeds up over time, but if we do not stress our muscles, if we're not eating enough protein, if we're not fueling our bodies properly, what do we expect, right? Eventually, it's going to catch up to us. Eventually, those old ways and those old patterns. And that's why we always hear, like, what worked when I was 20 isn't working now, right? And, maybe in your 20s, and here's the biggest thing, too, to understand is that a lot of time we think it's like, our hormones is the main problem, right? And I get it. I get the concern because it's a lot of very popular online. But the biggest problems, especially at the ages of 40, that I've noticed over the years is that it's because we pursue a more sedentary lifestyle. So we're not always up and going and moving around, right? So we're more of a sedentary lifestyle. The next thing is that we also have more of a social life, right? So we're eating out more. We have, more finances so that way we can go dine out. We can have our social life, the wine nights with our friends, things like that. And the last thing is just we get so comfortable and complacent in our habits that it's kind of hard, or we get demotivated to break out of it. Okay. So Ultimately, that's what we got to do though, is we want to build that firm tone look, is that we got to melt the subcutaneous fats. And of course, the visceral fat's going to melt away as we go as well. So here's your main steps on how to do that. So the very first step here when it comes to setting up your plan is that you got to be in a caloric deficit, right? It's not that keto, carnivore, paleo, one meal a day. It's not that those specific diets work. It's not that like, hey, I only can lose weight when I don't eat carbs. That's not the reality. The reason why someone would lose weight when they do those approaches is because they're getting to a caloric deficit. You cut out all these carbs, so you cut out a bunch of food that you typically eat. Therefore, you eat less food, so you're more than likely going to be in a caloric deficit, and that's why you're going to lose weight. It's not keto itself. It's not the pill itself. It's the caffeine, the pill that makes you full, that makes you eat less, and then therefore you're more likely to lose weight. Right. So that's one thing we need to understand, is that the only way to really lose weight is you got to be in a caloric deficit. So that's the first area of focus. Now, how do we set up our caloric deficit properly? Well, I would say, if let's say if you're 200 pounds, to lose 2 pounds a week, that's perfect. If you're 150 pounds, depending on your height, around a 0.5 to a pound and a half a week is good. If you have like 50 pounds plus to lose, you could lose 2 to 3 pounds a week. If you have 100 pounds plus to lose, you could lose like 2 to 4 pounds a week. The biggest key here, though, is that you don't want to be in too much of a deficit, because then you're going to eat up your muscle mass while your body fat. Okay, what we want to do here, if you want to have that firm tone lean look, is that we want to be in a good enough deficit where we're dropping body fat, we're dropping weight consistently, but we're still having enough food in our system where we're preserving our muscle mass. And the way that we're going to do that is, number one, having the proper caloric deficit. So the easiest way to do this is take your current weight in pounds. If you're very sedentary, multiply it by 10. If you're working out here and there through the week, if you move, get a good amount of steps, multiply your current weight by 11 or 12. Okay. So in pounds, by the way. So the first thing though is we got to set up our caloric deficit. Again, do not cut your calories too drastically low. Don't go from, like, let's say if you're 200 pounds and you're supposed to eat around 2,000 calories. Don't take your calories and go 1,300 or 1,400 just to lose that weight faster, because that's when you're in a danger zone of where you will lose your muscle mass. And it's hard to put back on that muscle mass. Like, you do not want to lose your muscle mass. That's going to be something that's going to help you live a very long, healthy life. It's going to help you sustain the weight loss after you lose it, because your muscle mass is basically your metabolic driver. The more muscle mass we have in our bodies, the more our body works to keep it on. So therefore, we're burning more calories naturally. We become like a fat burning machine, right? That's why if you do this properly, we lose the body fat, we keep your muscle mass on. It's going to be 10 times easier to sustain it than if someone was to lose all their muscle and their fat, because your metabolism is going to be way better. So therefore, you're burning more calories naturally than the average person, right? So again, this is why it's so important to preserve that muscle mass. Also helps with fighting against cancer, so many different things. It's so important. So calorie deficit setup, not too much of a deficit. That's the very first step, okay? The next step that we want to set up here is adding in more protein and 2 to 3 strength training sessions per week to preserve the muscle mass. So you could get started on just a deficit and you could be losing weight. Awesome. But again, we got to preserve the muscle mass. So that's when we add in the more protein, and then we also add in the strength training. The rule of thumb with strength training, if you do it right, is that you can get away with 2 times per week to preserve muscle mass, to kind of like stay the same if you do it right and really train hard. And then 3 times plus per week is going to allow you to actually get results. So get more stronger, get faster results when it comes to getting, your muscles more dense and strong, all that there. So that's the key there. So again, as you can see, nothing drastic. We don't need to do these crazy, 7 days a week training programs to get the results we want. We really don't. But we need to stay consistent. We need to trust the process. So, and of course, the more you work out, the faster the results you will get. Just make sure you don't overwork yourself, because your cortisol levels, especially after the age of 40s and 50s, but also because you don't want to overtrain, not recover properly, and then eat up your muscle mass as well. Right? So let's say around 3 times a week is what we're going to commit to strength training. You're going to do full body work, your main muscle groups, which is your chest, your back, and your legs area. Therefore, because here's the way you want to work out. Okay. So a lot of us think like, okay, I hate the chicken bingo wings on my arms, and I wanna get my arms more toned and firm. So we go into the gym and we start training our triceps all the time, our biceps. We're just trying to get those firm toned arms, right? That's awesome. That's awesome. You're training stuff, but we're not training effectively as we possibly can. Okay, because let's say if we have 30 plus pounds to lose right now and we want to get that toned, firm body, our main focus right now isn't to get this off because we can't target fat loss, right? Our main focus is how can we get this weight off our body the quickest way possible, right? The most efficient way possible. So if you want to do that, you're better off to train full body compound lifts. Like for example, if we're doing a dumbbells and doing a chest press, right? Laying down, what that's going to do for you is not only is it going to train your chest, your shoulders, your core a little bit, and it's also going to hit your triceps. So if you want to work on your triceps area, right, we could spend the time doing just like the tricep dips, like, the ones where we go down, and that will work our triceps. But we're not going to be burning the same amount of calories than if we were to go over and do the dumbbell press, where we're lifting more weight, we're stressing our muscles more, we're working more areas, we're burning more calories and getting better results. So right now, when you start out, if you want to save yourself time and get faster results, focus on your main muscle groups and focus on compound lifts. So full body movements, squats, deadlifts, be careful, bench press, barbell rows, assisted pull-ups, things like that are going to help you get the best results right now and build a strong, solid foundation in your body. Okay, we can focus on what I call a bodybuilding style of working out. So we can focus on isolated movements later down the line when it becomes more important, when it comes time for it. Okay, but right now it's not time for it because you'll get better results and you'll still see results there by doing the full body workouts, if that makes sense, if you're going to do 3 times per week. Okay. So the next thing again is working on getting more protein in, right? So once you have your caloric deficit set up, trying just to get more protein. Easy rule of thumb is a pound protein per meal, and just keep focused, keep mindful on the protein intake. Okay, keeping focused on the protein. Now, once we get those 2 steps out of the way here, we're going to be melting our fat and we're going to be preserving our muscle mass. So we're really on the good track right now. We just need to stay consistent, trust the process, and just adjust as we go. If you hit a plateau for 2 to 3 weeks and you've been perfect with your calories, then cut out an extra 100 to 200 calories, depending on how much weight you want to lose, and that'll help you break the plateau. It should help you break the plateau. And then keep going as you go. Now, the next area of focus that you want to really get down is proper routine to optimize your recovery, to focus on consistency, and to making sure your hormones are optimized as much as possible, just to help make this easier for you, right? So what does an optimized routine look like? A proper routine is predictability, right? When will you work out? What time will you work out? How long will you work out? When are you going to eat your food during the day? When will you get your groceries? Like having that predictability, because half of the battle here is just being prepared and planned. Right? Ever think about like, okay, why am I not losing weight? Where am I messing up most? It's because I keep skipping my lunch and I'm ordering the fast food and that's 2,000 calories right there. So I'm going way above my calories. Okay, well, why is that happening? Because I'm not preparing my lunch in the morning. Okay, why is it not happening? Because I didn't get groceries the other day, or I didn't wake up on time because I don't have a routine because I stayed up late last night. All right. So that's why it's so important to have an optimized routine. So that's the next area, though, is getting the routine fully optimized on track. Make it predictable, easy to follow, something built around your lifestyle, and add it in with your goal too. Okay. Now, the next area of focus, so that's the third area. Why is routine and recovery so important? Because again, consistency, but also helping recover, right? Want to really recover so that way your muscles can heal and your body can heal as you're losing this weight. Because if you think about it, you're actually consuming less calories than what your body needs on a daily basis. So therefore, you're taking that extra calories from your stored body fat and using that up for energy. Okay, but you're not eating your normal amount to function the normal way you would. So this is why you really need to focus on proper recovery. Okay, that rest and recovery. Now, the next one here is better food choices and macro setup. And the reason why I say this is because this is just going to help speed the results up a little bit more, get the better results. Here's the thing though, the funny thing is that every person's different. I always suggest aim for an easy rule of thumb is 30% plus of protein in your macros. When it comes to your carbs and your fat setup, it just depends on the person. Some people's bodies react way better when they have more carbs, and some people's bodies react way better when they have more fat. From my personal experience and working with clients, I've noticed that a lot of women, especially in menopause, react better with a little bit lower carbs. But I also have noticed that some people and their bodies react better and they feel more energy when they do have higher carbs. Remember, fat's not the enemy, carbs are not the enemy. It's a caloric deficit that we need to be in. right? But the thing that is a non-negotiable is that we do need the protein intake properly set up. We need to eat enough protein. Okay, 28 to 30% plus of your macros should be protein, and making sure that stays solid. Okay, and once we get that stuff, so again, and then the better food choices. The reason why I say better food choice, because that's going to affect how your skin looks, your muscles, how you feel on a daily basis, your gut health, the whole 9 yards, right? So just trying to make those better food choices. You can literally start this off eating enough protein, being a caloric deficit, eating the worst foods in the world, like processed foods, freezer foods that we heat up in the microwave. You could start out that way and be making progress. But then when you want to optimize even more and feel better, look better, have better skin, better gut health, better mental health, that's when we want to start really doubling down on our food choices and making sure we're making better food choices and having a proper macro setup. Okay. Now, the next step here, the second last step here is the maintenance mode, then changing out routine to target area. So this is where we can start talking about actually isolated movement. So by then, you should be very comfortable with your routine. You should be crushing it, very consistent with everything you're doing. And at this point, you're probably at your last like 5-10 pounds or so, right? So this is where you can start to do isolated movements. So if you're comfortable working out 3 times a week and you want to go 4 times a week, okay, perfect. Now let's do a split where it's like upper, lower, upper, lower. Upper days, you can do a chest day, and that can be, you can do a push day. I mean, that can be your chest, your triceps, your shoulders focused. Awesome. The next day could be legs. So it could be your booty, your quads, your hamstrings, however you want to go about that, your abs, if you want to add it in. The next day is back, biceps, shoulders again, if you'd like, or abs, whatever you want to add in there. And again, the next day, legs again. So therefore, that way, like you're setting up more isolated movements so you can actually start to target the areas. Now that the body fat's off your body, right, and you preserve your muscle mass so you have that stronger, leaner look, now it's like, okay, well, now I want to kind of trim up my waist more. Now I kind of want to work on my core more. Now I kind of want to work on my quads more. Now you can start to focus on those areas. Now, the thing is, though, here is that once we finally lose all that weight, what we want to do here is that take your current weight, times it by about 15, so current weight in pounds, times it by 15, and that should be your maintenance calories. So how you want to do it, though, is that you don't want to jump from your current weight all the way back up to that maintenance calories, because you're going to have a quick fluctuation in weight. It's going to mess with your mind. It's just not going to be fun. So you want to slowly add on calories back up over the next few weeks over time. Let's say give yourself, 2 months or so, and slowly add on about 100 calories every week or so, and slowly inch your way back up to that maintenance mode with your calories. Okay. Then at that point there, if you're at maintenance mode, then you can really start doubling down on, again, better food choices, more protein, and isolated movements to working those target areas. And that's going to help get you to across the finish line when it comes to that fully defined, firm looking body. Okay. Now, after that, you can add in the extras. You can level up working on new goals. Here's a key tip I'll share with you, though, is always have a vision for yourself bigger than your current self. And what that means is that you always want to be striving for something more than who you are right now. As people, we either pursue comfort or we pursue growth, right? We're either dying in life or we're either growing, right? We react very well when we have challenges and goals. And we also pursue comfort when we don't have those, right? So always be setting a new goal. It doesn't have to be a weight loss goal. It could be strength. It could be consistency. It could be a marathon, a running, sprinting, whatever it may be. Always be setting new goals for yourself so you always have something to strive for and to push yourself and to challenge yourself, okay? That's the training for today, y'all. I hope this really helped you out, though. We kind of went really in depth here, but this is exactly how to melt the body fat and firm your body up after 40. Now, if you have more questions, message me on Instagram at coach.hayward. If you need coaching, one-to-one personalized help to hit this goal, message me CH for details. Again, if you like this video, if this actually did help you out, make sure you like and subscribe so that way more people can see this, and leave a comment if you learned anything new. And out of that, I'll see you guys in the next training. Have an amazing rest of your day and keep moving forward.